My name is David Martin, and I am very proud to be a writer with Blue Forge Press. I'm here to talk to you about the first of my books in my Hall of Faith series, which is a biblical fiction series of 3 books, all very different, but all tied together in one way or another. Well, the first book is called The Praise Singer, a Disciple of Melchizedek, and I've always been fascinated by this character Melchizedek, who is really a mysterious figure in the Old Testament. He kind of appears out of nowhere. The Bible's telling us the story of Father Abraham, and all of a sudden when Abraham is coming back from a great victory in saving his nephew Lot and the people of Sodom, and he stops at Salem, and he gives a tithe of 10% of everything he's recovered to this King Melchizedek, priest of the Most High God. Well, Melchizedek, the name, means King of Righteousness, and of course Salem is the city of peace, which was the predecessor city of Jerusalem. And he says he is a priest of the Most High God. Very interesting character. We learn elsewhere in the New Testament that he has no genealogy, and no one knows who he was or where he came from. Interesting character, obviously, since Abraham gave him the tithe and Melchizedek blessed Abraham. The implication is made clear that he is greater than Abraham. In a messianic psalm, the psalmist says, speaking, we believe, of Jesus, you are a king forever in the order of Melchizedek. And then the writer of Hebrews spends half the book talking about the importance, the relationship of Christ's priesthood through Melchizedek. So, very interesting guy. What would it be like to wander in, to be there and meet this mysterious king who just kind of wandered in and then is totally gone? Well, I figured the best way to do this was taking another biblical concept which is really hard to imagine, and that is where Paul says in Romans that all the invisible attributes and power of God are revealed to us in creation. So I invented a character, and he was born an orphan, made a slave, and just never given a real name, but just called Jael, mountain goat, because he was made the shepherd for the night pasture. So this orphaned Jael is left to tend the flocks at night, and actually he kind of sees God's revelation all around him. He actually enjoys being away from servitude. Why wouldn't he? And he becomes a keen observer of nature and creation, and which leads him to the realization that there's got to be a plan. It's all so connected. It's all so delicate. It all works so together. There must be a creator, and he pursues the next step is, does this creator care? And of course, like every craftsman, whatever we make, we care about what we make. So yeah, he must care. So then the last question is, does he communicate? Well, when a rainbow comes after a storm, and one of the other shepherds says, hey, it was the promise, that's the sign of God's promise to Noah. Jael begins his journey, his quest to find this God who speaks. And once he searches down Shem, the son of Noah, who is still alive, Shem, and wants to know, what's the voice of God like? When does God speak? What does he say? Well, this puts him on his journey. And it's a journey that actually eventually leads him to Melchizedek, who comes beside him and disciples him. And answers all his questions about sin and atonement, questions of worship, questions of what does God expect of us? How do we respond to God? And Melchizedek answers all his questions, but he says, but Jael, God has one thing against you. And it's something that is, I think, we could, if we admitted to ourselves, we would say God has against each and every one of us, and it's our selfishness, really. It's our inability to love everyone else. So after Melchizedek leaves him to deal with this indictment, he says, here's a job for you. I'm sending you back to the people who enslaved you to be their priest. So it's a journey story, and it's a journey of learning what it is. Not only seeking God is only the beginning of the story. The real question is learning how to love, learning how to serve, and then learning how to deal with living in a fallen world, because the bad things still happen. Bad things happen to good people. They happen to all people, and that's one of the lessons that he learns, that blessings and trials don't go through seasons. They come together. And if you think about that. So throughout all, his encounter with God in Melchizedek's garden is his solid foundation of faith. It's Jael's journey is like ours. It's a lifelong struggle to keep his promise to love God first and then love all men. I think you would enjoy reading how Jael comes to these terms and learns this, and how something is primitive. It's set 2500 BC, 4,500 years ago, is just as relevant today. So the name of the book again is The Praise Singer, a Disciple of Melchizedek. It's available on Amazon, but it's also, I would prefer if you order it on my website, which is davidjmartin.com, and it's Martin with a Y, M-A-R-T-Y-N. I will send you a autographed copy with free shipping, and if you leave a note for me on the contact me page of my website, I will be glad to fill in any other special dedications or if you have any questions, or I'd be glad to hear from you.